the most iconic movie character of all time, was born. In 1984, a hulking figure in a leather jacket walked into a police station. With an Austrian accent, thicker than a Wiener Schnitzel, he utters those immortal words,
"I'll be back."
But since then, the Terminator franchise has been trying to replicate the same magic for decades. They've thrown everything at the wall: liquid metal Terminators, hybrid human Terminators, even turning John Connor into a Terminator. But nothing, absolutely nothing, has come close to the sheer unadulterated badassery of Arnold's original T-800. So, what is it about Arnie that makes him the ultimate Terminator? And why can't this franchise seem to function without him? That's what we're here to find out. But before we dive deeper, please hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with our latest videos. It's one small click for you, but a huge deal for us. Thanks! The birth. Let's rewind to the early 80s. James Cameron, a relatively unknown director with only Piranha 2: The Spawning under his belt, has a literal fever dream about a metal torso dragging itself from an explosion. Yes, the whole idea came in a dream to Cameron, when he was sick with fever while directing another film. This nightmare becomes the seed for the Terminator. But every good idea needs the perfect actor to bring it to life. Arnold Schwarzenegger, fresh off the success of Conan the Barbarian, but get this, Arnold was not even supposed to be the Terminator. Cameron's original choice was O.J. Simpson. I kid you not. The studio execs vetoed that idea, saying, and I quote, "People won't believe O.J. as a killer."
Terminator producers originally wanted you to play the Kyle Reese role and O.J. Simpson is the Terminator. Is that true?
That's correct.
So
and when they met me, they felt like, oh, I think that this guy will be better as Terminator because he looks much more believable as a killing machine. They thought that O.J. didn't look like a killing machine.
Clearly, time travel was not available to them like in their movies. And so fate had other plans. When Arnie met Cameron to discuss playing Kyle Reese, he kept talking about how the Terminator should move and act. Cameron, realizing that he had his killing machine right in front of him, made the decision that would change cinema history. Here's the thing though. On paper, Arnold as a Terminator makes zero sense. He's supposed to be an infiltration unit, blending in with humans. As Cameron himself put it, there's no way you wouldn't spot a Terminator in a crowd instantly if they all look like Arnold. But you know what? It didn't matter, because sometimes logic takes a back seat to pure unadulterated awesomeness. The perfect machine. So what makes Arnold the perfect Terminator? It's not just his imposing physique though, that certainly helps. It's the little things, the details that Arnie brought to the role that elevated it from a stock movie monster to an unforgettable cinematic icon. Watch how he moves in the first film. Those eyes scanning the environment like a computer analyzing data. The way his head turns, slow and deliberate, follows his line of sight and how he reloads weapons without even looking at them. Every movement is precise, calculated, and inhuman. And then there's the voice. That thick Austrian accent somehow made the character even more outwardly. It wasn't a flaw, it was a feature. It added to the sense that this thing, whatever it was, wasn't from around here. But here's where it gets really interesting. In Terminator 2: Judgment Day, Arnold had to flip the script. Now he's the protector, the good guy. And somehow he made it work. He took all those robotic mannerisms and repurposed them. Now instead of being terrifying, they became enduring. Watching the T-800 try to smile, to understand human emotions, it was both hilarious and oddly touching. This versatility is what sets Arnold apart. He can be the unstoppable killing machine in one movie and the badass robot uncle in the next. No other actor in the franchise has managed to pull off that kind of range with a supposedly emotionless character. The franchise that can't let go. Now here's where things get a bit complicated. After Terminator 2, the franchise has been on a roller coaster ride. Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines, Terminator Salvation, Terminator Genesis, and Terminator Dark Fate, each one trying to recapture the magic of the first two films. And you know what they all have in common? They all tried to bring back Arnold in some form or another. It's like the franchise is stuck in a time loop, always circling back to its roots. They've introduced new Terminators, the liquid metal T-1000, the TX, and the Rev 9. They played with the timeline, they've de-aged Arnold, and they've even turned John Connor into a Terminator. But no matter what they do, they always end up back at square one, Arnold Schwarzenegger as the T-800. Why? Because Arnold's Terminator is more than just a character. He's a cultural icon. I say that again. A cultural icon. Those sunglasses, that leather jacket, the catchphrase, they are all part of a collective pop culture consciousness. You can't just replace that with a fancy new CGI robot. The Schwarzenegger factor. But why can't the franchise seem to function without Arnold? It's not for lack of trying. They brought in some serious talent over the years. Robert Patrick as the T-1000? Terrifying. Kristanna Loken as the TX? Formidable. Even Gabriel Luna as the Rev 9 was pretty darn impressive. But none of them have managed to capture the public's imagination like Arnold's T-800. And it's not just nostalgia talking. There's something special about the way Schwarzenegger approaches the role. First off, there's his physical presence. At 6'2" and built like a Greek god, or should I say Austrian oak, Arnold doesn't just play the Terminator, he embodies it. When he's on screen, you believe this is a machine that could punch through walls and lift cars without breaking a sweat. But it's the way Arnold commits to the role. He doesn't just act like a machine, he becomes one. In the first movie, he reportedly blinked as little as possible during takes, sometimes going minutes without closing his eyes. He practiced stripping and reassembling weapons blindfolded to make it look effortless on screen. And then there's that face. That impassive, emotionless face can somehow convey menace, confusion, and even humor without changing expression. It's a masterclass in minimalist acting. The evolution of the T-800. One of the most fascinating aspects of Arnold's Terminator is how the character has evolved over the years. In the first film, he's the unstoppable killing machine, a horror movie monster in a sci-fi setting. But then Judgment Day rolls around, and suddenly, our big bad Terminator is a good guy? This is where Schwarzenegger's genius really shines. He takes all those terrifying traits from the first movie, the robotic movements, the deadpan delivery, the sheer physical intimidation, and repurposes them. Now, instead of being scary, they're oddly enduring. Watching the T-800 try to smile, to understand human jokes, to be a father figure to young John Connor is both hilarious and surprisingly touching. And Arnold sells it. He sells it so well that we buy this complete 180-degree turn in the character. We root for this machine that, just one movie ago, we were terrified of. That's not just good acting, that's movie magic. As the franchise progressed, we saw even more facets of the T-800. In Terminator 3, he's almost worldly weary, a relic of a future that's constantly changing. In Genesis, he's a protective father figure, complete with dad jokes. And in Dark Fate, he's practically contemplative, grappling with concepts of purpose and redemption. Each time, Arnold brings something new to the role while still maintaining that essential Terminator-ness. It's a tightrope walk between the familiar and the novel, and Schwarzenegger nails it every time. The imitators. Now, all the other Terminators have tried to fill Arnold's sizable shoes. Don't get me wrong, some of them have been pretty cool in their own right. Robert Patrick's T-1000 in Judgment Day is the stuff of nightmares, a liquid metal shapeshifter that still holds up today. But as awesome as the T-1000 was, it was never meant to replace Arnold. It was a new threat, a way to up the ante, and it worked precisely because we had our familiar T-800 to root for. The problem started when the franchise tried to move away from Arnold. Terminator Salvation thought it could get away with just a CGI cameo. Spoiler alert, it couldn't. Genesis tried to have its cake and eat it too, giving us both young Arnold and old Arnold. It was confusing to say the least. Dark Fate came closest to passing the torch, introducing Gabriel Luna's Rev 9. And while Luna did a solid job, the movie still felt the need to bring Arnold back. It's like the franchise knows it just can't survive without him. So, what is it about Arnold's Terminator that is so irreplaceable? Why, after all these years and all these attempts, he's still the ultimate Terminator? It's a combination of factors. There's a physical presence, of course. Arnold looks like he was built in a lab to play this role. There's the commitment to the character, the way he fully embodies the machine nature of the Terminator. There's the evolution of the character over the years from pure villain to complex anti-hero. But more than anything, it's the inevitable quality that Schwarzenegger brings to the role. It's the way he can make you believe in this ridiculous premise of time-traveling killer robots. It's the way he can make you laugh one moment and send chills down your spine the next. It's the way he's turned "I'll be back" into more than just a catchphrase. It's a promise, a threat, and a comforting reassurance all rolled into one. In short, Arnold Schwarzenegger isn't just playing the Terminator. In many ways, he is the Terminator. He's as integral to the character as the metal endoskeleton or the glowing red eye. Without him, it's just not the same. So what do you think? Is Arnold truly irreplaceable as the Terminator? Or is it time for the franchise to move on and find a new face for Skynet's killer robots? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel.